Welcome back to another video. This one is going to be how to do front and rear pads on a Hyundai ELANTRA GT. So first things first, loosen your lug nuts. Use the breaker bar, or you can use what I'm going to use, which is a Milwaukee impact gun. So you want to bring the vehicle off from a good lifting point. There is one underneath the front here, but there's also side ones. You can go here if you're using a floor jack, or if you have a hoist, you can literally go on the two sides there. Anyways, jack it up. Once you've got your vehicle lifted off the ground, you're going to take a 21mm socket to remove all of the lug nuts holding the wheel on. Remove the wheel, put it to the side. Then you're going to come over into the brake system here. This will be your caliper bracket, your rotor, and then tucked in there is going to be your brake pad. Your caliper pin on this guy here is going to be a 14mm socket. Okay, you're going to break those free, and this is going to be a 17mm for the actual caliper bracket. Okay, so to remove this section here, it's a 14. To remove this section, it's a 17. So if you're doing brake pads, you only need to remove this. If you're doing brake pads and rotors, you're going to be doing both of them. The customer's got some rust, surface rust on there, but they've requested to have pads only done. So the rotors aren't pitted or anything like that, and the run on them seems to be okay. So we're just going to go ahead and do pads only on this one. So first things first, you don't need this one if you're doing pads only, so we're going to get rid of it. And then we're going to get a ratchet and we're going to break these free. There are clips that are holding them in, kind of like a V, but reversed. So there's going to be a pin here and a pin here, and they're going to come down and up like this. They're just keeping pressure on the pad so that when the brakes aren't in use and your foot is off the brake pedal, it actually pushes them away from the rotor, so it actually doesn't consistently use it over and over and over and wear them down. So after I remove these caliper bolts that are sitting right here, these are the pins I was talking to you about. So you can, if your kit that you have for your brake pads, it should come with them. You should be getting new hardware for the side of the caliper, as well as the caliper bracket, as well as the pins here. If you don't break these in case you have to reuse them. So just lift them off slowly, they come straight out. But yeah, we're gonna remove these two pins here, remove these pads, clean the area, replace the clips up here, and then we are going to reapply the new ones. So I actually took the caliper off, and the reason why I took the caliper off is because on these types of brake shims you have here, they've got these little tabs in there. To get these pads on, the best way to, without damaging these, is to actually put the pad in through the center and then push it outward, so that way it sits on the inside right here, as you can see. Okay. Also, don't forget that when you're doing your brakes, you're going to pull out your caliper slider pins right here, and you're going to just pull the boot back, and then when you pull the boot back, you're going to have it come out. Sorry, it's hard to do it. There you go, like that, and you're going to re-grease and clean this up, so your slider pins are freshly greased. Okay, so then as you can see with this one here, see how it's sitting in the pad. That's how you want to do it. You don't do it right, you're going to end up touching the rotor, making a squealing sound. All right, so the pads are on. I got the pins on there as well. Caliper is also back, or caliper bracket is also back on. So this is just to quickly show you when you're using this kind of caliper. Sorry, when this vehicle has this caliper. All right, so the caliper bracket is on, pads are on, pins are in, and they were put on, and I've secured back here. It torqued it down. Now your caliper, this type of caliper is a piston caliper, so it actually doesn't have a swivel piston, it's a compress-in piston. So basically you'll take a tool, C-clamp, whatever you have, and then you just basically will spindle and tighten it. And as you tighten it, it will retract itself back into the piston. And you just go until it's flush. And then when you've done that, grease up your slider pins and put it back on. All right, so now that it's all back together, you got your caliper back on with your bracket, and you put your brake pad on. I always put some silicone base on the back there, like easy slide stuff is what I use, just to help quiet it down, to make sure there's no brake noise or anything like that. Tighten down your 14 and tighten down your 17. Now, that's pretty much it. That's how you do your front brakes. I will show you now how to do the rear brakes. I'm going to stop here though, and I'm going to flush the brakes on the front. So I'm going to do the flush on the other side of the vehicle as well as this side here. But yeah, we'll continue with the rear. All right, moving on to the rear now. You're gonna get rid of your 17 millimeter socket if you're doing your rears, because it's a 14 for the caliper pin and it's a 14 for the caliper bracket. 14's right here. However, on the Hyundais, you can't fit a 14 millimeter socket in here with your ratchet. So you're just gonna have to use an extension. 2 to 3 inches is fine, clears it. Break it free, and then you remove your caliper. All right, with your caliper removed, you have these little pins again. You want to save them in case your kit doesn't come with them. And we're going to replace these pads here. And then, but this time, this caliper is not a simple push it in. This one actually requires a caliper recoil tool, essentially. So I'll show you how to do that too. So I couldn't get the pads out because they were seized into the caliper bracket, so I actually had to remove them and bang them out of here. The old clips were absolutely mangled and whatnot, so just rusty, and even the old pads, they have a little bit of life left, but they're so seized that one actually wasn't even moving. So you have to take a caliper off and do it that way. So take it off, take off the old clips, clean it up, put the new clips on, and then put your new pads on and slide it back on. So basically you get a tool like this. It has a plate that's on the back of it like that. Plate goes on the inside of the caliper here, and this goes on here. You put these notches into the groove. Now, depending on what it is, like there's so many different styles of caliper pins out there, but basically you put it in there and you will turn that in a clockwise formation to wind it back in until it's flush. That way you can get it back on your caliper. Sorry, that way your caliper can get back on your brake pad. All right, then you piece it back together. Make sure that your 14 millimeter caliper bracket, your caliper bolt is tight, as well as your caliper bracket bolt right here. Make sure they're both tight, and give it a nice spin. This one's pretty rough to the sound because there's tons of rust on it, so I'm gonna road test and hopefully it clears it all off. But it definitely will be noisy for the first little bit there. But yeah, that's basically how you do brakes, front and rear for pads only on a Hyundai. So yeah, thanks for watching.